This might just be the greatest violin story that you've ever heard. When I had the chance to buy the cheapest violin I could find, I won the auction for $69, but there was one major problem. It was broken. But anyway, I was very excited when it arrived. Here it is now. It's got all the pieces, I think. But, to my surprise, when I had another look at it, I found something inside, a label. But not just any label. It had the label that said Antonio Stradivarius Cremona. Now, could it really be one of these Stradivarius violins? Let's take a closer look. I wasn't sure. The fretboard was worn. The violin was in two pieces, but it had all the elements there. Maybe it could be. I'm sure there'll be plenty of you itching to tell me that it's not a real Stradivarius, but the body looks really nice. But it's probably just a low-quality student-grade instrument. After taking a closer look, I decided to consult some experts in a violin identification page. I wanted to know if it was worth fixing it up at all. Much to my disappointment, I found out that it was worth practically nothing, but still worth the effort of doing it up for the experience itself. I like a challenge, so I thought, why not make it into my own $1 million sentimental violin piece? So I set about to take it apart and start the restoration process. I've done a little bit of research to find out. I wanted to try and do it as close as practical to how a luthier would do it. I'm no expert, I'm a beginner. I don't even actually know how to play the violin, but I think this is going to be a fun project for me. It seems to be a common thing that people find these old Stradivariuses in their attic. And it can be heartbreaking when people find out that there's actually thousands and thousands of copies out there. Some of them good, some of them not so good. Part of my research, I found out that the neck angle was very, very important to setting up a violin. So I wanted to get this right. I measured my violin, I made a 3D model, and I set the height of the fretboard where it hits the bridge at 27 millimeters. And I've also used some measurements I found to work out where the strings are supposed to sit. And I 3D printed that green piece, which I designed to help me set the neck angle perfectly even and to the right angle. But now I need to clean off the old glue and tidy up the joint so that it can fit together nice and neatly later on. At the same time, the fretboard was really well worn up at the top end. I didn't know what to do with this. I didn't just want to make it black over top of it, so I decided to sand it back and get it nice and even. I used a range of sandpapers from a high grit right down to a fine grit, and I wanted to get all the black pigment out of it. So I had a nice even surface to start with the restoration process. Now there's a whole process to planing the fretboard. I had a look and it looks like it has quite a good concave piece in there, so I'm going to leave it as it is to start with. And here I am just taking a look to see what it might look like. It's gone the brown colour from the exposed wood. I actually quite like it. I don't know whether this is traditional or not. Probably not. You're all screaming at the TV telling me that don't do it, but I'm going to leave it as it is. Also, I wasn't happy with the inscription that was on the front of it. I think it must have been an old student instrument. It had a code on there. I couldn't find anything that it related to, so I wanted to sand that off. And while I was at it, I thought I'll sand the whole front because the varnish was very, very shiny and you could see the varnish lines. I didn't quite like that. It made it look newer rather than older, and I wanted it to look old and nice and rustic. So I sanded it back to a more matte finish. And then I found out that using some boiled linseed oil with some varnish is a good way to restore the coating on your violin. I tried a little bit on the fretboard that was just the boiled linseed and it seemed to look okay, although it wasn't setting. So I think that's why you need the varnish in there. But here I am sanding back the main body and the upper face. I used 800, 1000 and 1200 grit wet and dry sandpaper to do this, just to even out all the old varnish, but still leaving some of the initial varnish in there. I think it turned out quite nicely. It doesn't look so cheap when I do that. And now I'm just trying some linseed oil on it to see how the colour would look. Let it sink in a little bit and then give it a bit of a wipe off to get rid of any excess that's sitting on there. I'm really pleased with the way it's looking now. but I'm not quite sure what to do with that big chunk under the tail rest, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I've been told that you need to use hide glue. It's traditional glue for instruments and antique furniture making. So I've bought some granules and I'm soaking them in some water, 2 parts water to 1 part granules, and I'm just going to leave it for about 20 minutes to soak in. While I'm doing that, I'm going to prepare the back like I did the front. So I'm just giving a bit of a clean up. Also gave that a bit of a sand with some fine sandpaper and then with some really fine steel wool, and going over with some boiled linseed oil. Now it's looking good, it's not quite there yet. Here are my 3D printed alignment jigs. It helps set the bridge position and the neck angle perfectly. I made one at 27mm and then the other one I tried it a little bit higher, but I won't use that. As you can see, I've got a new bridge here. It's not a very good quality one, but I'm going to get it to settle my angles right and try this thing out. So I can actually use my jig to mark it out to the right height to start with, so I don't actually have to go through the process of trimming it down and trimming it down and trimming it down until it's right. I'm sure someone who's done it 100 times will be able to do this with ease, but I use this jig to try and get it as close to perfect as I can on the first go. Now the hide glue has been sitting in my rice cooker as a double boiler. I thought that was quite a clever way of doing it. I didn't have a double boiler, and now the glue is ready to use. So I'm going to glue this little piece in. When I was handling the violin, this piece was just sitting in there, so it actually snapped off with the neck when the neck came apart. So I'm going to glue this back in as well at the same time. Pressing it in, it's got a clean break so it fits in nice and tightly. I didn't really need to even tidy up the joint itself. The two pieces, the neck and the body, fit together really well. So I'm just going to glue up the joint, use my jig to set the angle, and then clamp it together to hold it. And we'll see how that goes. I've got my fingers crossed. Make sure you stick to the end to see how this violin looks and turns out. If you've been enjoying the video so far, hit me a like and subscribe if you want to. I have lots of things like this on my channel, and I think you'll enjoy it. Now, you don't have that long to work with the hide glue. It's nice and free-flowing at the moment, so I'm just painting it on the joint, putting a liberal amount in there, and then I've grabbed the neck joint. I've only put the glue on the inside part of the joint, so hopefully that's enough. Now to put it down, press it nice and tightly into the neck joint, apply some pressure, and then slide my jig in there and go and find my clamp to clamp the thing together. I don't have any of those fancy violin clamps yet. I've just got my old G-clamp, so I'm going to apply pressure right at the top of the joint to push down and make sure that the V-shape is closed in perfectly. Now that's not looking too bad at all. I can't wait to see what this thing will look like once it's all back together. I have to set this aside and leave it for 24 hours to dry and set. Make sure the glue is nice and strong before I put any sort of external pressure on there. So in the meantime, I'm going to go and try and prep my bridge. And traditional players will tell you that you need to use a chisel to shape these, but that took forever and I wasn't doing a very good job, so I'm just going to use some sandpaper to help me out. Some really coarse grit sandpaper to start with to get it to the right shape, and then some finer grit sandpaper to get the profile right later on. So yes, lots of sanding. A luthier back in the day would actually use chisels and wood shaping tools to do this. Even modern day luthiers would probably do the same thing, but I bet you there's people that use sandpaper. So here we are, it's starting to take shape. Now I need to smooth it down and get the top nice and thin down to about 1.5mm and tapering back. The back edge is supposed to be perpendicular to the violin, so I'm keeping that one flat. And if you compare it against the old bridge that came with the violin, that was very low. I don't know how this would have even worked. Maybe someone can tell me why it would be so low. Now, it's probably a good time to mention, if you think you have something rare and you want to have a DIY project like this, then please be certain that it's not something genuine. You don't want to be wrecking an antique violin that actually has some value. So yeah, make sure you check first. I'm using the violin very carefully like this to get the right profile on the feet of the bridge. It's probably a bit of a cheap method, but I think it worked quite well. And I can keep going until it's sitting nicely and holding itself without rocking on the violin. Now that the bridge is done, the violin's dry, the glue is dry, I'm going to take some varnish and take about 1 part varnish and then 1 part boiled linseed oil and make up a little bit of a mix, which I'm going to use as a coating to varnish the violin. Now, before I get too carried away, I'm just going to test it on a little spot and see how that goes. I'm checking it on the fretboard here. And I'm happy enough. So I'm going to go and grab a piece of steel wool, very fine steel wool, and gently rub it into the fretboard so it soaks right in and creates a nice finish into the timber. And then I'm just taking a paper towel and wiping it down to try and get a nice smooth finish. And then I move on to the body itself, gently massaging in this nice varnish mix. And the finish is coming out really nicely. Now, I've intentionally set out to make it so it's not looking like a really, really highly polished or varnished violin. I want it to look slightly dull, but also shiny, if that makes sense. So it kind of looks like it's been this way for years and years. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to turn out. And I'm not very far away, so hold on and wait to the end to see the finished product. I'm moving around the whole violin. I don't want to miss a single little part. It might have been better to do it while the neck was off, but I'm sneaking in under the fretboard, and yeah. If you take a close-up look here, it's looking really, really nice. You can see a little bit of the wood grain coming through, but ultimately I'm very happy with this. Let's take a look at it so far. And yeah, please give me comments. I want to know what you think of how it looks. Good and bad comments. I'm not afraid to hear your thoughts. So yeah, it's looking pretty good now. It's all together. So what I need to do is actually string it up and get it prepared so it can make some music. Now I take my mini drill and we're going to put a hole in the sound post here. There's a hole in the middle, but it didn't really work for me because I don't have the right tool to set it properly. So I'm going to use some angle pliers. And this mini drill is so awesome. It can drill holes right down to 100 microns, so that is incredible. But for this project, it's working well. So here I'm taking my little tweezer pliers. They're on an angle, putting it at the top so I can sneak it into the F hole and twist it round and try and get it in the right spot, which is directly behind the bridge. And you need to be really careful with this because if you apply too much pressure, you can actually crack the violin. So I'm going to be very gentle with this process. I made this little tool out of some welding wire. Now that it's kind of set in place, I can use this tool to pull it back up and sort of apply some pressure to lock it into place in the right spot. So this took me a couple of tries, but with a bit of patience, you can get it into the right spot and it's nice and tight in there. And I'm happy with that position, so I'm going to try out the sound and see. Apparently, even minute changes in any of this sort of structure in the violin can make a huge difference to the sound. So this may not be perfect, but it's my first attempt, so I'm going to test it and see. Incredibly exciting. I'm going to put the chin rest back on and start building this thing back up. Now I get the tailpiece. You'll see I haven't quite prepared the scratch that's underneath the tailpiece. I'm just going to leave it there for character. Set the bridge and grab my strings. Now I didn't want to sink a lot of money into this violin because I wanted to restore it on a budget. These strings cost me $1, so they are probably not the best strings and quality-wise, but if it works, I'm going to then invest in some better strings. So to hold it in place, I'm putting in the G and E string, so the 1 and 4 strings, and I can use that to help hold the bridge in place and then feed through the other 2 strings after that and tighten them up one by one until they are all relatively tight and close to their correct string pressure. I'm using an electronic tuner to tune the strings from G, D, A, E, and as I tighten them up each string, I found that the tune would go out, or each string will go out of tune. So it's a bit of a process that you have to repeat over and over until all the strings are in their right tuning, and yeah, a bit of patience on this area as well is always helpful. And tightening these strings can be fiddly. Hey, maybe that's why sometimes violins are called fiddles. Who knows? So I think rather than you watching me muck around with these strings for the next half an hour, I'm going to jump to the final product. There's plenty of videos out there on YouTube on how to set up your strings correctly, so go and check those out rather than watching me. And let's jump to the finished product. So here it is. I am incredibly proud of this. I think it looks incredible. And I don't think it's a bad attempt at a first go at rebuilding a violin. Let's see how it sounds. It looks incredible. If anything, I can sit it in my room and it can be passed down through the family as the violin that I built and showed on YouTube. Now, how does it sound? Oops, let me retune it and let's try again. Here we go. Ah, that's sounding better. Let me know what you think of my creation. I really enjoyed this project and well worth the effort. I now have a violin. It didn't cost me much at all. Thanks for watching.